Angelica, I have two questions for you, and they're related, and it'll become apparent soon why.
Okay.
Question number one: have you ever written a song before?
I don't think I have.
Are you a musical person? Would you say, or no?
No, not at all. I don't play any instruments. I have a horrible voice when I'm sober.
When you're drunk,
When
it's much better.
I'm drunk, it's amazing. All the walls come down and I'm really awful. No, I don't think I'm musical. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if I've ever tried to write a song, if I've ever been forced to write a song. I mean, I sing stupid songs to my kids and my new puppy. But they're not real songs. What about you?
I've written a few songs in my life.
Okay.
The first one I remember was when I was like approximately 12, and I discovered rap music for the first time. I wrote the kind of song a rap song a 12-year-old would write.
Right.
And when you're 12, you have nothing of importance to talk
Yeah.
about or say, or you don't know anything. So what are you going
Yeah.
to write about? And I don't remember anything in the song except I was just trying to come up with um lyrics. I have no idea. So I wrote something about how I'm going to play a whammy bar, and I didn't know what a whammy bar was. Like first, it's on a guitar. It like
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know what that was. It's just something I had heard of, and that really sticks out to me. Like, what rap song is ever going to mention that? And so that was stupid. No one saw it but me. I wrote it on my note paper. I wrote a song. I wrote a few songs, but one in particular with Orion, our mutual friend, when we were working overnights. We wrote a parody of "Hey There Delilah" called "Hey There Godzilla." It's really good. I'm kind of tempted to sing you some.
Please do.
All right. Well, I have a cold, as we've discussed, so just
Right.
remember that. Normally, I have the voice of an angel. Hey there, Godzilla. What's it like in Tokyo City? You're a 1,000-foot tall monster, and to me, you're pretty terrifying. People on the street and they're dying. The children crying. Oh, you terrorize Japan. Oh, a train car in your head. And that's kind of how it goes. So we
That's
wrote
really good. How long did it take you guys to come up with that?
a couple nights. We sang it pretty steadily. You get pretty loopy at 3 a.m., as you well know.
Yeah, I bet Orion's really good at that too.
Yeah, he's a much better singer than
Yeah.
me. So we sang that song, and then when we moved to Dayside, I remember we sang it once, and one of our coworkers started singing it in an offensive Japanese accent, and then that whole song came to an end right
Oh
then and there.
no.
But then that brings me to my second question, which is: do you ever do anything that you do specifically to annoy your spouse that makes you laugh?
Oh, there's so many things. Um, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sure he'll have so many examples. What do you do? Because
Well,
I know you got them.
it brings back to the first question. So I once wrote a song, and it's kind of like a slow metal song. Think like Iron Maiden. So when I sing this song
Yeah.
in a moment,
Yeah.
it's a very, very short song,
Yeah.
but it's in that style. I've now taught it to my 5-year-old son, who sings it to my wife to her great chagrin. So I'm winning on two fronts here. It goes like this. Do you want to try some of my butt sauce? I made it fresh today. 27 spices in my butt sauce. A secret recipe. And that's the song. It's 4 lines. It's just enough.
I would love that. I find that endearing. I mean, if you have to listen to it every day.
That's where it gets old. You get a laugh the first time.
Yeah.
You get a
August,
chuckle the second
yes.
time.
That's pure joy. Memories with dad.
Mhm.
I sing a lot of Christmas music throughout the year, which is super annoying to Bill. It just comes out. And Alex is doing it too now. And now I'm weirdly singing not just Christmas music to the puppy, but I don't know why this started, but I sometimes hum the Final Jeopardy song to the dog now. I don't know where it comes from. Bill's like, what are you fucking doing? So that's annoying.
That sounds like something you sing to the song when you take it out for its midnight walk to poop.
Yeah. I'm like, do, 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 take a shit.
Welcome to Film Swap, the podcast where we challenge each other to watch the movies that we've left slip through the cracks or purposely shoved into the cracks for whatever reason. I'm Nick Voll.
And I'm Angelica Thornton, and today we are talking about music and lyrics.
When you think of the biggest bands of the 80s, you think of pop.
I said I wasn't gonna lose my head, but then pop goes my heart.
Did you ever hear of the band Pop?
Yeah, of course. Everybody has. They had that ridiculous hair and those ridiculous outfits, and oh my God, you're one of them.
I can't lose this feeling.
Alex Fletcher has one last shot at fame.
The show is called Battle of the 80s Has-Beens.
We did actually break up in 1992, so technically I'm a 90s has-been.
All he needs
Cora Corman, bigger than Britney and Christina put together.
is a hit. I can't possibly write a hit song for her by Friday.
Give it up, I'm a bad hot witch.
No.
But with some magic, I just might switch.
I would love to talk to you about maybe writing some lyrics.
I'm just here to cater to the plants.
That one is plastic.
I met that guy from that band you used to like. He invited me to come see him perform tonight.
Music and Lyrics is a 2007 American musical romantic comedy drama film written and directed by Mark Lawrence. It focuses on the relationship that evolves between a former pop music idol named Alex Fletcher of the fictional band Pop and an aspiring writer named Sophie Tucker, I believe. No, Sophie Fisher, as they struggle to compose a song for a reigning pop diva to revitalize his career and sort of begin hers. It was released on February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2017 by Warner Brothers. It got sort of mixed to positive reviews. It made $145 million on a $40 million budget, so a pretty good return. Stars Hugh Grant, Drew Barrymore, Brad Garrett, and a delightful turn from Kristen Johnson. And as you may have noticed, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, we are not alone.
We're not. This is my husband, Bill Curtis.
This is my wife, Marisa Moneyhun.
And we're doing this at night with cocktails because it was really hard to kind of put this together. We have busy spouses.
Well, you have a job. I have a job too here.
Yeah, we have a job. And I just want to correct you. I think you accidentally said 2017.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, 2007. This movie came out a month before I met you, Nick.
Oh, that's crazy.
Really? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
Which
weird
might be why I don't remember even hearing about it. I don't remember anything about it because that was kind of a chaotic time in my life. I was moving across the country. I heard about it from you first.
Yeah,
right?
This is a good place to start. Tell us.
Yeah, this is why we have the partners on, because I remember Bill. Well, you explain it.
Okay.
You came back from a trip and you're like, I saw the worst movie ever on a plane.
Well, yes, that was my initial judgment, but now that I've re-seen it, well, we'll get to that. So in May 2007, I had one of my few guys trips. Angelica does girls trips all the time. I have one of my few guys trips. I went with a high school buddy down to Panama to see another high school buddy who was living down there to go surfing and, hang out basically and so forth. And so my high school buddy and I were on the plane down to Panama, and this was the movie that was on the flight. And back then there was only one movie on the flight. And so either you watched it or you didn't. So I saw the movie.
And you guys sang the song to each other.
Well, yeah, I didn't realize I wasn't sure where we were going to go. Yes. So our impression was not positive of this movie. We had some cocktails on the plane and everything. So maybe that messed up my judgment, but nevertheless, it made the impression on us that it was a really, 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 poorly made piece of cinema. And then for the rest of the week, while we're going surfing and going to bars and so forth, whenever we wanted to torment each other, we would sing the first lines of the song, Way Back Into Love, I believe is the title that Hugh Grant gives it. And
I think the pop star Cora Corman gives it. Remember in the film, they have to write a song based on the title.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. That's true. She gives the title and they write the song. That's right.
And now, we can get into that. Sounds like
you were punished by a higher power in Panama, and he dislocated his shoulder and couldn't surf most of the week.
Yeah.
Because of your teasing of this film.
The famed canal surfing of Panama is notoriously dangerous.
Yeah. The locks, you gotta look out for the locks, man. Those locks will just, they'll take the board out from under you. Yeah, it's good.
All right. So Angelica, what you were busy moving, you hadn't seen it.
Yeah, and I remember him mentioning the movie, but I don't remember it being music and lyrics. And I think the first time that I recognized that this is the movie Bill was talking about was when you mentioned it.
Okay.
it's not something you see like playing on TV or on demand or anything.
It's a little surprising to me. It's like the king of rom-coms and the queen of rom-coms in the same movie finally.
Yeah, and this guy, Mark Lawrence, he did Miss Congeniality, Forces of Nature, 2 Weeks Notice. I didn't like any of those movies, by the way.
Say, why does he have a job?
Not my type. I was surprised he wasn't behind Failure to Launch.
I've not seen that one.
Because I walked out of that. I've told you that. That was one of the 2 movies I've walked out of in my life.
Now you've mentioned 2 Weeks Notice, which is one of Marissa's.
I love 2 Weeks Notice as a rom-com. It's one of my favorites.
Okay. It's been years since I've seen it, and that's Sandra Bullock, right?
Sandra Bullock.
And I love her. I love her.
As long as you're willing to suspend,
you have to completely suspend the disbelief for that one.
Like, it's not a good movie, and yet it's fun.
Together.
You can let it go that it's not great. My main problem with that movie at this point is it features a prominent Donald Trump cameo where he's like portrayed as like a cool guy. And so like I just can't get past it. I actually want to start a
canceled.
Yeah.
I want to start a service. Remember like the Mormon thing, like Clean Flicks, where they cut all the swearing out of movies?
Oh, yeah.
I want to start a service where I cut every Donald Trump cameo out of all the movies he's
been.
The
guy from like who was it? Because John Hughes, who did Home Alone 2? Was him? Was it?
He was in that, yeah.
Because he refused to remove Donald Trump, right? No, he's dead. So it was someone else's decision after Donald Trump's presidency.
Well, John Hughes is in trouble anyways because Molly Ringwald threw him under the bus.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, for the teen movies of the 80s being
come on,
sexist and so forth. That's always the question. Can any of these movies be made today?
Well, I think this one could.
This one could, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's recent enough that it's really
characters of color in it, but nevertheless.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, hey, you're forgetting about the hotel clerk who's tone deaf.
That's true. It's Asif. No.
It's
what's his
Mandi.
name? Yeah, Mandi. Yeah. Yep. Asif Mandi.
So how many times have you watched this, Nick?
We've seen it probably 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a comfort film, but I think the thing that works about it and the reason it is so rewatchable to me, and you can chime in here, is just they are so charming that their relationship, that like the plot details don't matter at all to me. I just like them. I just like listening to them talk to each other. And I love the 80s pop caricature songs. They're so much fun, and they seem
like obviously Drew Barrymore and Hugh Grant. Likable characters. Kristen Johnson, Brad Garrett, likable. Not to drive a wedge in our friendship here, but I could not think of anything else about the film that I liked.
You didn't like the movie? No, this is good.
No, it's good.
Not at all.
I'll take it.
All right.
I think this might be my least favorite one that we've done besides House of Gucci, because House of Gucci was more annoying, and this one was just wasn't annoying. It just wasn't enjoyable to me. It just felt a little boring.
That's fascinating to me.
I think it had potential, but I think that they missed it. I think it was contrived and cliche. And it just seemed a little sitcom-y for me. Like the first scene where they're brainstorming, coming up with lyrics, it just felt really rushed and just this rapid fire dialogue. And it was really kind of unnatural to me. I thought no one talks like that. When she's overwatering the plants, when she drops her sandwich when she's eating in the park, I was like, oh, it's so over the top. It's like a CBS sitcom.
It would have been innovative in the 80s.
Yeah.
High praise. Bill, did you like it more or the same from the first?
Well, I have to say, the second time I tried to appreciate the charm of the actors, doing their roles, and the pop duo that Hugh Grant's character is in is clearly sort of a poor man's version of Wham.
Yeah.
And or maybe Tears for Fears, but probably more Wham. And so Alex Fletcher is actually the Andrew Ridgeley character, I guess. And
you love that.
Well, I like that reference. And, Alex Fletcher, I found myself wondering, is that a reference to Andrew Fletcher of Depeche Mode, who died a couple of years ago? But in any case, I thought that, but no, I kind of coined a term, which might not be original, the rom-dum This is the rom-dum rather than
okay.
rom-com, I think, because really, yeah, it was bad. It was. I mean, when you're doing a Nazi joke right out of the gate, when she, there's two sides to anything, and he's like, oh yes, of course, but maybe not with the Nazis. I really can't see the argument on the other side. I'm like, that's either comedy gold or comedy crap, and I just have to put it in the latter category, frankly.
I read one critical review that said Mark Lawrence makes everything 3 times more obvious than it should be, and I thought that was spot on. It's like a Hallmark movie, but with better actors, right? And it's not their best acting. I don't think that Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore had great chemistry in this movie. Like, I wasn't feeling the Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore spark here.
Can I jump in and then I'll let you guys go because I'm already talking too much. But I think what you just said about how Mark Lawrence, the criticism is he draws everything out. So during the Nazi joke, she's like, there's two sides to there's two sides to everything. In fact, the thing is she hates infections. She's like, I hate infections, but who likes infections? And she's, well, maybe the penicillin companies do. And he's like, well, there's two sides to everything. She's like, yeah, that's right, except for the Nazis. And she could have left it. Mark Lawrence could have left it there, but no, he had to draw it out for the audience. I don't really get the other side of that argument. So that's a perfect example of that.
Which made me think at that very moment, I hope my mom's not listening. My mom would like this movie because they make sure she gets everything. And your mom too.
Yeah.
Your mom and my mom be like, oh, it's so sweet. I don't have to turn around and go, wait a minute.
What was going on? The other thing though, I will say that this is still in peak Drew Barrymore cuteness.
Yes.
Which I think goes from about Wedding Singer, I think is 98 through 50 First Dates to this. And also, I think Charlie's Angels is probably in there somewhere. Hugh Grant, though, it's funny. And probably a lot of people are like this. I really like him in his villain roles. In fact, my favorite, The Undoing. He was awesome in The Undoing. You know what? My favorite role is him playing. Actually, this is funny. His name in The Gentleman is also Fletcher. At least in fact, I don't think he has another name in that movie, but it's Fletcher. So in this, it's Alex Fletcher. In The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie's, I think, most recent movie from 2 or 3 years ago, he plays a tabloid journalist who's just slimy and sleazy, and he's is brilliant. It's my favorite role that Hugh Grant has played.
Interesting. I did not like that movie, but I'm not a huge Guy Ritchie fan much anymore after Lock, Stock, and that was about the last time I liked his movies. But I see what you're saying. I'm not pretending that this movie has any originality necessarily. I just think it's amiable, and I think there are enough belly laughs throughout. Like, anytime there's music involved, it's funny. Anytime Kristen Johnson does pretty much anything, I think she's very funny. So I think it skates from moment to moment, and that's what makes it work, along with me liking both of them so much.
Yeah. I agree that
like flashbacks too, or any of the old pop music videos. Love those too.
I love that. I wanted more of that. I wanted a little bit more of his history and the 80s stuff. And I wish that they'd made his character a little more complex, maybe a little more narcissistic, and then watch him have a turnaround as they're falling in love. He just, he was self-deprecating and he was British, but at the same time, not British enough. And by that, I mean, not funny enough for me. I just, a little bit more dark, like Bill said. And actually, I think Hugh Grant is so good at that.
The best scene was when they had that fight.
Yeah, and he brought up the book. And
he's like, you are that character. It's the worst thing you could say to her.
Yeah, that was good. And she was really upset. I'm like, oh, yes, this is good. Go there.
So I think that though most characters in a movie don't have more than one turnaround or development.
Yeah.
The development for both Sophie and Alex in this movie is not like going from a bad person to a good person. It's going from someone who's trapped in the past to someone who can live in the present for both of them. And I think that you got to pick what you're going to do with that. I don't know. I feel like if you delve too deeply into him being an asshole, then you take away from him his feelings of inadequacy.
There's already one asshole too, like in her life, in her past. So you can't have him be too awful because that was the professor's role.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, and that brings me to the question I want to ask of Bill. You are our professor.
Yes.
Without naming names, do you know people like that?
Well, she was a student, right?
Yeah.
While, which is
Yeah.
like,
He
you
was
can't do
her-
that.
Oh yeah,
anymore.
that's
You can't do that
that's
anymore.
definitely forbidden. And this is another question: could you make a movie like this today? Do I know people like? I mean, we all know people who are narcissistic. Do I know a professor like this? I mean, he's a special case. He's a National Book Award winner. You know how many National Book Award winners there are who are professors? 0.00001% and so forth. I was actually going to defend him as being, just because he's a professor and he's allegedly part of my tribe. But he actually, it's funny because I read the description of the movie because I could barely remember. I couldn't even remember that it was Campbell Scott because, again, it was almost 16 years ago when I watched it on the plane, and he didn't really play much of a role in it. I mean, he played the pivotal role of that scene where she loses her words, right?
Oh, I didn't like that.
But otherwise he wasn't really that prominent in the film. I actually was expecting more of him, but
It was more.
She's supposed to be this talented writer, obviously a brilliant person,
wordsmith,
right?
if you will.
Yeah, and they kind of made her look like a bumbling idiot in that moment. And I think they could have made that moment really hard for her without making her look stupid in the restaurant.
I disagree. I think she was supposed to lose her words. That was kind of the whole point.
I know, but God, I wanted to punch him in the balls so hard.
We'll see. Now that's good movie making if you want to punch somebody in the balls, right? See, I just thought it was totally cliche and contrived.
Yeah,
of course she lost her
yeah.
words when she has a confrontation with the former
Right.
flame and yada yada
It's
yada.
too obvious.
Yeah.
Character development, you guys. She can't.
I know, but it's character development by numbers.
Well, yeah, of course. It's a rom-com.
So I do like some things about the film, like the idea behind them collaborating together. I like that the scenes are longer with the two of them, giving them more dialogue than the average rom-com. I mean, they spend a lot of time in these rooms trying to come up with these lyrics. But I feel like I kept seeing like missed opportunities where they fill them with like zingers and sort of superficial conversation when they could be getting, we could be getting more out of it. And then there's some weird things about her character. Like you mentioned that she's a hypochondriac and the thing. And then I'm like, that was a weird little, she's a little wacky, but they never bring it back. It just kind of like, it's just in one scene. They didn't like weave it through the movie.
Like a half-assed attempt at developing a character.
Yeah, I'm like Drew Barrymore is she's either like the Drew Barrymore we see in the Adam Sandler movies that we mentioned before, kind of kooky and wacky, or she's the serious, a conflicted one, like in Fever Pitch. And I feel like this was more like the Fever Pitch Drew Barrymore, and I don't like that Drew Barrymore as much as I like the other one.
Mm-hmm.
The cute, quirky.
The cute, quirky one. I mean, she's cute and quirky in this too. She's so likable. So it's hard to like even criticize her as an actress or a character. But yeah, I think she was a little flat here.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's tough with tone, as we've discovered in a lot of these movies, because she has those moments where she is wacky and kooky, but and also moments like you said where she's serious, and it is hard to marry those into a person that feels real.
Yeah.
I do think I think it's interesting. They had two really good comic ringers on the sides who were adding a lot, and perhaps maybe they could have leaned harder into them being the more of the comedic forces and let the stars be more of the dramatic forces, because Brad Garrett was pretty good as the sort of desperate manager. And my question is, how many clients does this guy have? He has one client. Alex Fletcher is portrayed as being virtually broke. Manager gets 10%.
I was like, I guess they're just living like middle income. Actually, probably they'd be living in poverty in New York, right? That's where they're supposed to be. So it's like, what is going on here with the state fairs? There's no way they'd be able to pay rent.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Bought.
Yeah,
bought in the 80s when it was cheap and times were good.
That's true.
His only expenses like a flip phone because it's 2007, right?
Kristen Johnson is great at stealing scenes, and I wanted her more. I agree. She's awesome. I mean, remember that her character in Sex and the City where she's like, "Ugh, I'm so bored I could die," and she falls out the window. I mean, she's awesome. She's good in every show she's ever done too. So more of her would have been good.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, when you start stacking that up too high, it loses its value as well.
Steals from
then it can also feel cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she is very one note,
Yeah.
Like, actually, no, I don't don't know. She feels in a lot of ways kind of more real because she's like this broad physical comedian, but she actually has a business and is empathetic, and she has one of the worst lines I've ever heard in a movie, though, when she says like I've never seen you fall like this. Like, who would ever say that in reference to love? Like, I've never seen you fall.
And also, like, I don't have a sister, but I imagine you don't talk that way with your sister too.
Frequently, no.
Yeah, no. It was so like girlfriend talk that's scripted in like a cheesy like Lifetime movie.
Or Sex and the City.
Yeah, or Sex in the City. Yeah, exactly.
I tell you one thing that Drew Barrymore does totally nail, possibly better than any other actress I can think of. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but is the sad face. She has a very beautiful, compelling sad face. And she does it in all these rom-coms that she's at some point.
Someone said in one of the reviews to this movie, Drew Barrymore in every movie has that one look like she just saw E.T. for the first time. And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's true. You're like, oh, I love her. She's so cute. She's still the 5-year-old who just saw E.T.
So that moment, if I'm thinking of, is at the end, right? When he's on stage at Madison Square Garden, she hears written by Alex Fletcher. She thinks she's been cut out of credit. She starts to leave and she hears he's actually playing an original song about her. And it's kind of awkward and mawkish, but it's from his heart. And I think that's a really effective moment.
I like that scene.
Because of her face.
Yeah, it was great. It was good too. And like his singing isn't fantastic, but that's not really what it's about.
I think his singing is good. You're too harsh on his singing.
I don't know.
Well, he does not try very hard. It's talk singing.
Yes, it's talk singing. That's great. Yeah, it's perfect.
Although you know what, the lyrics were so good, then one starts to wonder what was the point of all this? Because he seems to be fine as a lyricist.
Yeah, he came up with that song in 5 minutes.
Well, I think he's fine as a lyricist for himself, as opposed to like a generic pop voice.
Yeah, it's not like a Shakira rival. Right.
Those lyrics are very like idiosyncratic. I mean, they're not straightforward. I love you.
True, but I still think the lyricists out there, let me tell you, they hated this movie. All the lyricists out there, it's like, no, it doesn't work.
All the ones you know.
All the ones I know. Because everybody always hates movies about their own industry, right?
I saw that the guy who did the movie for this film died from COVID a couple of years ago.
Oh no, Adam Schlesinger.
Really? Yeah,
he was amazing. He was in Wayne's Fountains of Wayne. He was the singer for Fountains of Wayne.
Oh, I didn't know that. He
wrote so many great movie songs. He's one of the first famous people who died of COVID. Yeah, he was a fantastic.
The songs for this.
Yeah, and he wrote a bunch of other movie songs too. He kind of after Fountains of Wayne kind of fizzled.
So what do you think of the title song that Bill has been torturing me with all night? What do you guys think of this song?
Well,
are you going to sing it to each other as you? What?
I don't remember what it sounds like. Bill, could you?
I've been living with a shadow overhead. I've been sleeping with the cloud above my bed. Something like that.
Are we going to get pulled off YouTube for that?
Catchy.
I think.
You know what? I think I did it in a higher register than he
violation.
does.
I don't know if it's because of it's a copyright violation.
You know, it is.
You're going to have to dub in. That's copyrighted.
That's got to be copyrighted.
I think though the algorithms are looking for something that sounds like the song, yes, but also is in tune. So it's hard for
they won't be able to catch mine. They won't be able to catch mine at all. Then I've been living with the shadow. That's actually the right key.
Yeah.
Anyways, poor Angelica is gonna be hearing this for another 2 weeks because that's what happened the first time I saw the song. My friend and I kept tormenting each other with it.
I think it's actually the worst song in the movie. I'll be honest with you, but I think it's also kind of perfect because it is supposed to be an artificial kind of throwaway pop song for a inconsequential star.
You see, now I disagree because it's the song that's supposed to resurrect his career, so it should be good. And it is funny because I thought when I was listening to the original pop song that Pop does, Pop Goes My Heart, I think is what it was.
That's what
I was like, that was close to plausible. And some of the other ones he does at like some of the fairs are there's definitely a Wham, possibly Spandau Ballet thing going on, and they're plausible. That song is not. The way back to love.
Yeah, I was
way back into love is not plausible.
I was waiting for it to hook me. Have you guys seen Eurovision?
Oh,
Oh,
God,
yeah.
that's great.
Of course, right. So I actually love all the songs by the end of Eurovision. Like I think they're great songs, even the ones that are supposed to be bad. I'm not sure if it's because they play them so many times. The movie's so funny. I love that movie. But I love the songs in that. I was like, oh, by the end of this movie, I'm gonna love this song. And I didn't. I just
Well, that's what I was saying. I think it's the weakest song. I don't think the pop hook is strong enough, and I don't think the way it's arranged and written reflects modern pop music. And so I think that it's easier, modern pop music of 2007, especially.
yeah.
And I think that that's why the 80s songs work so well,
Yeah.
because you're able to look at those through a lens rather than what is actually happening now, or more realistically, what's going to be happening in a year or two when this movie actually gets released.
Yeah.
So I didn't finish my thought before. I thought to myself, those other songs are kind of plausible, and I was like, what happened? Did they fire the songwriter halfway through the movie, and then when they had to make the main song, they had some hack do it? I don't know.
Yeah. A little bit of a disconnect, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's kind of a hack too, Cora.
Yeah.
You know?
Cora is a hack.
Yeah.
But again, I think the point is that the music and lyrics, Hugh Grant and Sophie Fisher, well, I guess it's Alex Fletcher and Sophie Fisher coming together, and she gives us a little philosophy of music going on there, right? The music is the visceral, sexual part of it, but the lyrics are the story part of it, and they're supposed to come together and make this great song, and it's the worst song of the freaking show, right? I mean,
Yeah, it is.
It's a great point. Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. So yeah, at least it's better than the Indian inspired arrangement with the sitar that they had going halfway through. Maybe that was a purpose. Like, it shows that Cora is, kind of off a rocker and doesn't get it, but maybe it's like on purpose. It's like when women have like an ugly friend to look better than, they're like, well, what if we play a super shitty version of this song? Well, that's like an old cliche that women have like I'm not saying damn it, I'm canceled. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they play a shitty version of the song, so then when you hear the main version, like, okay, well, it's not as bad as that one.
Oh, I mean, clearly that's the point, right? Because Sophie can't stand the sitar hip hop sort of version of it that's more all erotic and so forth, when it's supposed to be more of the sort of insecure, as she puts it, insecure sort of love song thing. And so when it finally gets performed, actually, I think the best version of it was that final version. Obviously much more produced than any versions we hear before that, at the end of the movie, when Cora does it on stage with Alex. Right?
Drew Barrymore has a good voice. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, when they're just singing, just kind of working through it, I was like,
I thought Hugh did too. I can't believe you. I mean, now granted, I think
I'm just used to your pipes are so powerful.
Hugh was she hates my singing, but Hugh, I think has a good voice. I think at times he was like actually trying to do sort of a Brit pop thing on purpose, and which fit the situation.
I hate his singing, by the way. He always says that. Bill loves singing. You were in the choir in college or something, right?
In high school.
When he was on sabbatical at UP, took opera lessons, and loved singing. And he's all like, "You hate my singing." I'm like, "No, it's just sometimes certain songs." He seems
to interrupt me a lot when I'm singing.
He gets carried away.
I'll start saying, "Shirley, what do we have for dinner again? What do we have? This sort of thing."
I like a good George Michael song in the shower. Not like together in the shower, but he's in the shower and I'm listening to him
or
sing.
Together in the shower. Is that gonna have to be cut?
I mean, there's a lot of singing in this house. Remember when I came into the bathroom and I said, "What are you singing?" And it was a U2 song. And I said, it's not Scaled These Silly Walls, it's City Walls.
You're right. I will.
Decades have I been saying.
I will. In my defense, all of my my misunderstood lyrics, they all make sense, because after all, silly walls. Why do we have to scale these silly walls? They're silly. They shouldn't be in our way. Sure. In fact, if anything, it makes more sense than scaling city walls, because what city walls? It's not the medieval times, right? Bono? What the hell?
Walls still exist in places where Bono visits,
like Derry and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's what he's talking about. They literally are.
Yeah, but they don't actually keep anybody out anymore.
Right.
They're not under siege.
When he was singing about it, they were.
It's a goddamn metaphor, Bill.
Well, that's why they're silly.
Nick,
Silly city walls.
We talked about how you have written songs. So could you empathize with how hard it is to come up with lyrics?
No, I've never written songs serious.
You've never stayed up all night, like having to find this perfect.
No.
Every song I've ever written has been in service of some sort of joke to make.
Yeah, so you're just screwing around.
Yeah. I've never tried to do it for real. I don't know how to read music. She does, but she wouldn't help me write a song.
No, because they're going to be annoying.
Are you musical, Marissa?
I played the violin for a long time. Up through college.
Nice.
You guys should, collaborate.
Right,
Collaborate.
Freaking love songs, dude.
Song duo.
Music.
Yeah. Music. Lyrics. There you go. And I hope you come up with something better, like spaces in my mind. That's not quite right. Corners of my mind. Whoa.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because that is like every time I see that scene, I'm like, God, that's such a terrible lyric. And it's already been done in a song.
It's good. It's such a cliche. Exactly.
So what? I don't even know what would we write about? What songs? I mean, it's up to me, I guess, because I'm the lyrics and she's the music. So you just.
I am never going to make music if you're making the lyrics. I heard you talking about your song with Angelica.
Bill, did you hear my song?
No.
Okay.
Sings a song
Sing
about
it for him.
sauce.
You would love it, because the nickname for our children is stink butts.
Oh.
That's what he calls the kids. So he would appreciate this music.
My 5-year-old appreciates it. Our 5-year-old.
Bill, you can go back and listen to the.
Yeah, we don't need to sing
You're,
it again.
She's
like,
yeah, that's okay. It's a one-timer. So I take it.
Wish.
I take it neither of you would recommend this song to your friends.
The movie. No.
Yeah, it might as well be called a song. No, I don't think so.
Okay, Bill, you no.
Well, it depends. I might want to play a practical joke on a friend and recommend.
I feel like we're being a little bit harsh, but it's not. I'm just being honest.
And
you know what? My main problem was I was just a little bored.
I agree. I didn't think it was very funny. It's funny. If I almost would rather watch it with the sound off, because they are good actors with their expressions. And like I said, the Drew Barrymore sad face, is so great. But the actual, at times, I suppose Hugh Grant and his British sort of observations is, 10% of the way towards Ricky Gervais or something, but only 10% of the way. Right. And so it's
other actors in to see in my mind if it would have worked better. I was like, I wonder if Drew Barrymore and Jack Black would have, blah, blah, blah.
I would probably swap her out and keep Hugh Grant.
Keep him.
I would. Because I don't know. I like this movie, but I don't know if I believe their chemistry together. I like them both individually. I don't necessarily buy the end result as them as a couple, but I wonder if it was a different female lead, if I'd feel different.
Sandra Bullock.
Who
never fails.
I think they have great chemistry.
I love her. I haven't seen many movies where I mean, what is the one we just watched?
With Sandra Bullock? Oh, it was the Channing Channing.
Yeah. She's
they had
good chemistry too. She was good in that,
What was that?
Yeah.
What was it called?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was so tired. It was a Friday night.
But you remember
the miracle that I didn't fall asleep.
I think it was called like 90 Minutes of Loud Noises, something like that. I like her a lot. I know I don't want to subject you to something you're not going to like, and we won't do it for the podcast, but if you give 2 weeks notice, another try, if you like Hugh Grant and you like Sandra Bullock.
They're great together in that.
I think they're
all right. I'm going to try it again, because it's been a really long time, and it very well could have been something that I just ditched a quarter of the way through, because I've done that a lot.
He's probably not evil enough for me in that. I will say that I am not a harsh movie critic. I almost always enjoy a movie for what it is, which clearly, you're not looking for something that's going to win an Academy Award when you watch music and lyrics. But even so, the only movie I think I've ever wanted to walk out of, have I ever walked out of a movie? I got to say that the movie that I wanted to shoot myself in, because we were there with the kids, was Baby Bosses. Was that the one? Oh,
Boss Baby.
Boss Baby.
It was one of the worst movies
crap.
ever made.
I have never done this before. About third of the way through, I took out my phone and started just reading the news and shit on my phone, because it was painful.
Did the kids
absolutely
like it?
Fucking painful?
I have an embarrassing admission on what I've walked out of, because I've seen it since, and I can't believe I walked out. I walked out of Independence Day.
Oh,
That's a great summer
I don't know
blockbuster.
what-
I know.
Why? I was just annoyed by the absurdity, but
Were
I
you with a guy?
don't think I got it.
Were you with a guy?
And I slept almost all the way through Milk Money.
Were you with a boyfriend? at
No, I
4th of
wasn't. I
July?
don't think I was.
Just checking.
And then Failure to Launch. I left. No, not Failure to Launch. What was the other one? Yeah.
Failure
that's
to
what-
Launch?
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Isn't
with
that-
Matthew McConaughey before his
I walked
resurrection.
out of that.
Yeah, well, so
We've talked about that
so it
before,
failed to
though.
launch for you.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he overcame that failure to launch. He later launched,
He launched. He launched big time.
relaunched, I guess, because he had. Yeah, we walked out of Anger Management. The
Oh,
Adam Sandler.
Never
I,
saw it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a problem with super tense stuff. Like I have anxiety, and it just was like I need to leave right now, kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever
You
walked
were in,
out.
like a bad work situation too. I wonder too if that had.
Yeah, I was working.
Yeah, it's got too close to home.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
It's probably back in the news days.
Yeah, it was like my
Yeah.
first news job. I was working overnight. I was tired all the time. It was only the Dollar Theater in Eugene too, so I felt like, well, I'm only out of $2.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Marissa, have you ever walked out of a different movie?
No, I think that's it. I feel like there was one other one we walked out of at some point. I'm not remembering it though.
We got to get back to the movies so we can have the opportunities to walk out. We haven't been to many movies. I mean, you guys know this. You have a 5-year-old.
Yeah, we haven't.
It's
gotten
tough.
any
I
movies.
mean, like, it's like you get a babysitter. Do you want to go somewhere and sit next to each other and watch a movie all night? Or do you want to go to dinner and be able to talk? And so we go to the movies with the kids and watch like the big, like Marvel movies or whatever. And they're usually good. So, but when was the last time you and I went to the movies together and watched them? Years,
Wow.
maybe 10 years. I mean, crazy.
So I have a question though for you guys. So, what sort of like fairly popular movies do you not like? Like, can you think of something? So here's one that you know has two big stars. Obviously, a big movie that we didn't end up liking all that much, even though it had stars and yada yada. But
Well, as a regular podcast listener, Bill, I'm sure you're aware
oh, of course,
that
Adam Sandler issue.
I was gonna say after your last podcast, I can't stand Adam Sandler, like at all
okay.
in anything.
you don't like The Wedding Singer even?
I would like it more if there was someone else in it.
Interesting.
Well, I can't imagine anyone else being in it. Although I will say that Sandler's overrated. I agree with that. I'm not a huge fan. I like some of his stuff. I don't like other stuff. So
I really don't like the Fast and the Furious movies. Everyone says that they're.
propose watching those because I've never seen them.
Well, we watched.
I haven't either.
I've seen Fast 1 and I've seen Fast 5. You and I remember several years ago we watched Fast 5 because everyone said, "Oh, this one's different. It's so good." And
is
it
The Rock in that one?
They're all. Isn't he in all of them? Right?
No, I don't think so. He comes on later.
He is in that one. Yeah, though. That's him and Vin Diesel squared off. I think in Brazil or something.
Then there's the spin-off of Hobbs and Shaw, which I actually enjoyed just for dumb, testosterone fueled action. I actually would like to just because it's such a part of Americana of 21st century Americana at this point to systematically watch all of them. But I can't say that I've. What's that?
I felt the same way.
Yeah, I can't say I can't say that
I've never seen it.
So I've seen like parts of them. In fact, I still remember I was in processing. This is funny. I was in processing. I believe I was at Fort Benning for my National Guard Army training, and that was like the actually semi-real part of the Army training I did as a Oregon National Guard JAG. Lawyer, Army lawyer. We didn't do a whole lot of combat training, but that was actually the one sort of introduction to got to shoot guns, run around in the woods, all the rest of this stuff. And so they were giving us our packs of equipment in this big sort of warehouse, and on this big screen they were showing one of the Fast and the Furious movies, and it took forever because everything in the Army always takes forever. And I got to see probably 80% of it. Might have been 5. I'd have to go back and look at the year, but it was like the latest one that had come out. I mean, it wasn't, they weren't doing an initial showing at Fort Benning, but it'd been out. And I've seen snippets of others here and there. I don't know if I've ever even watched an entire one.
Could you imagine me lasting through one of those?
No, you would not. You would not enjoy them. But they are ridiculous. They are ridiculous. I mean, it's a type of. I mean, is it Michael Bay? Maybe it's not Michael Bay, but it's a Michael Bay type.
Yeah,
thing.
I think he might produce them or something, but he doesn't direct them. No,
Yeah,
I think Justin Lin did the last several of those. I don't know why I know that, but
ridiculous action.
The most basically, there's never been a DC Comics movie that I've liked except the most recent Suicide Squad. Like, I hate the original Superman.
Did you not like the first Wonder Woman?
It was fine. I take that back. I like the Nolan trilogy, the Batman trilogy that Christopher Nolan did. Well, I like the first two. The second one's amazing. But anyway, everything that Zack Snyder touched with DC, all the dark, somber crap. I think Superman's the most overrated character in popular fiction of all time.
Well, as my kids would say, he's OP, overpowered.
Okay. Is that a thing kids say now? You would know better than me.
Yeah.
I just think like he's so boring. There's nothing interesting about him. He has no real flaws except this one Luke thing. So everything evolves.
He's not Thor.
Yeah. There's no.
Do you like the Marvel movies?
Yeah. I grew up reading Marvel comics, so I do.
Yeah.
Have an
We've
appreciation.
watched them all.
Although I will say that after like the Affinity or Avengers Endgame and all that stuff, the newer versions don't hook me like the old ones do. They just seem like another thing that came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
Well, we've watched all the shows too on Disney. We still watch them.
We stopped watching Moon Knight halfway through because I thought it was so boring. But
I didn't like that. Although I do like, what's his name? Oscar
Isaac.
Yep.
Isaac. Yeah. Actually, when he wasn't Moon Knight, his character was great. It's actually when he became Moon Knight, it became more boring. I really liked the Loki series.
Yeah,
that was good.
Now, as you would know, Bill, as a regular listener to the podcast, we did Ex Machina recently, starring Oscar Isaac. So you should really consider going back.
I told him and he wanted to watch this.
That's one of my favorite movies.
You will really like it. You will really like it.
Which one was that?
Ex Machina.
Oh, Ex Machina. Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to watch it. He will really like it. You know, like one of your favorite movies too is like Gattaca.
Yeah, Gattaca's great. Yeah, that's good flick.
I'm curious, what sort of romance movies or rom-coms do you two like, or any?
Well, my favorite two movies of all time are Groundhog Day and When Harry Met Sally. I don't know what that says, but I don't like a lot of like super syrupy, like traditional rom-com-y, girly, like it has to be more of a comedy with the underlying storyline is romance. But
she loved He's Just Not That Into You, though. She was a big fan of that.
What? I don't even think I've seen that.
I'm just joking.
Like there's so many movies that came out in the 2000s, like those teen, like
that was prime rom-com.
Yeah, and I haven't seen a ton of them, and I think it's because I was older and I worked at nights, but
she was getting enough romance with me.
Yeah, that's right.
Comedy.
So we have a lot of opportunity here to go back and see movies like He's Just Not That Into You and all that stuff. I missed a bunch of them. I do like a bunch of old stuff.
Is that but we've talked about this before.
I love Woody Allen films, and I know he's problematic, but I love all of them. And
that's like more serious. So I'm starting to think of more dumb rom-coms that I've liked. I'm trying to think of like Jack Black being in it. Did you like The Holiday?
No.
I thought it was okay.
It's all right.
What was the name of the one with Gwyneth Paltrow? Shallow Hal.
Oh my god.
That's so bad.
That movie?
We watched it recently, like a couple years ago, I think, with the kids, because we were up at Mountain Hood and it was one of the movies that was available. It's beyond not aged well. Like
I thought
I'm surprised they still show it.
I'm not a huge fan, but I thought it was much more. I'm sorry to say, it was much more watchable than Music and Lyrics.
Just laptop closes.
Just humor wise. I mean, honestly, Music and Lyric just wasn't funny, and so the part of Music and Lyric for me that worked was the romance worked in places, like for instance when he like so harsh on her and saying she's like the character in the book that she's afraid that she's like.
That's romance to you?
Well, absolutely that's part of the rom-com, right? That's part of the rhythm of the rom-com, right? There has to be a falling out
trauma,
right? There has to be the initial, and the it's formulaic, and that was my favorite part of the formula in music and lyrics.
When he finally can tell the woman off. I get it.
Well, no, I mean, it's that was actually, a rom-com drama, I guess, right? That was like that was kind of the best acting, kind of the best, and it wasn't trying to be funny, right? That maybe that's the key, is that I thought this movie was so unfunny that my favorite part was the part that was definitely not trying to be funny.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. No,
all right. Well, really fun, we're doing rom-coms for all of February, and it's my turn to pick next week. So I have a classic 80s rom-com, Overboard, which of course takes place in Oregon, starring iconic Hollywood couple Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. And Bill has a little bit of a Overboard. You want to share that now?
Sure, I will. First of all, I'm
Overboard story.
I'm doubting that it aged well, although of course it was updated with what's her name. Yeah. So I had this funny story. So when I went to grad school, this is back in 1998. Two of my roommates, one was from India and the other was from Turkey. Actually, the Turkish guy was half French, half Turkish, and he was difficult for both of those reasons. But nevertheless, no, I liked him. He was funny. And so the Indian guy was doing, this is India, obviously the country India. He was in computer science, and the Turkish French guy was doing engineering. And I came back home one evening and they were watching Overboard, and they were absolutely falling out of their chairs, laughing hysterically. They thought it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. And I was like, I'm like, you guys, Overboard? Really? Really?
And no spoilers, so you can't really finish the story. No, but at one point they were standing up and cheering.
Oh yeah, they were.
And he called me. It's probably a rotary phone. It was so long ago, and he was like, "You're not going to believe this."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Well, I kind of like Overboard."
I mean, it wasn't horrible, but wow, these guys,
we'll see. I don't know if you'll like it, Nick.
So I will make a caveat. I have seen it, but I saw it when I was like
okay,
7.
so you don't remember it very well.
I remember broad strokes. I know how the plot generally goes, but I don't remember. Yeah,
Marisa, you haven't seen it?
No, I watch all of them for the most part, except for the last one because Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
But I've watched all the others with you.
Yeah, it's been fun. And it helps me too, because then I can
so supportive.
Well, some of us like to support our spouses, and some like the parts of the movies where they tear down women. That's just differences between people.
Wow, you don't appreciate the essential part of a rom-com, the essential part of a rom-com when there's a fight.
The tension that gets them in bed.
What?
Yeah. That's the only way to do it. It's negging. That's the way to do it,
It's true.
Classic, pickup artist moves. I'm looking forward to Overboard. It's fun. And it's funny too, because we talked a little bit about like how we like movies. We have fond memories of movies we saw when we were younger and more impressionable. And so like maybe, I'm not that I was that much younger in 2008 or whatever when I saw this, but I like music and lyrics more. But you've liked some movies from when you were a little bit younger, like 50 First Dates, that I didn't see when I was younger. So then as an older adult, I'm like, I don't know. So I'm curious if this is going to be one of them or not.
Yeah, we'll see. I've watched it a couple times. I haven't watched it in a really long time. I mean, I love Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. I know it's not like high quality flick here, but
music and lyrics.
It'll be fun. Yeah. This isn't Oscar winners with Angelica and Nick. This is Film Swap. Hey, did you see somebody else's somebody else has tried to steal our podcast name?
Yeah, same exact name.
After we started it, they used terrible Photoshop. They're going to take our Google searches.
I think they have 3 followers.
Outrageous.
So, and it's probably people trying to follow us. It's probably like my aunt who doesn't speak English, and my mom said it's called Film Swap on Facebook, and she just found the first one and clicked on it.
Mm-hmm. Like Angelica's voice has gotten huskier.
We gotta get the Greeks in line. Get on the right page.
Right. Well, we will
Hey,
see.
we should mention that because we haven't mentioned it.
Oh yeah.
We have a Facebook page. We created a Facebook page. We've been slacking a little bit on the updates because it's been a rough month. You have had, I don't know, RSV or something, SVP. I don't even know. I can still hear it in your voice. I hope you're feeling better. I had surgery last month, and so we didn't do any podcasts for several weeks. We're back on track though, and we have a Facebook page. Film Swap. Go like it, click it, follow it, leave comments, make suggestions on movies you want us to watch.
Yeah, I thought too it'd be cool if we could start answering any questions people have, because sometimes people might have questions. It'd be fun to answer. So I just wanted to give a shout out too to our listener Kimberly, who posted on Spotify that she couldn't find 200 cigarettes we did a few weeks ago. She really enjoys the podcast with her husband, and they wanted us to start a page for her and the fellow boomers. So we did. And Kimberly, thank you for the suggestion, because it was a really good idea.
Is Kimberly a stranger?
I don't know Kimberly.
I don't either. This is amazing.
Dave is her husband.
Someone not immediately in our close circle is listening.
This is how we get sponsors. We keep talking about this. This is when the bucks start really, the big podcast dollars start flowing in.
Eventually. Yeah.
All right. We've talked long enough. I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Film Swap is produced and hosted by Angelica Thornton and Nick Voll. You can watch or listen on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Follow Angelica on Twitter at Angelica KATU and follow Nick at Nick Voll. Share your thoughts on the films we discussed there, and we might just read them on the show. Music by John Michael Farley and Nick Voll.